This is a fellow singer from Kodiak. He doesn't look much like Renee, who was supposed to be on there, but she had a death in the family, so Fred volunteered to jump in, and that's what Kodiak guys do. They jump in the pinch.
Thanks.
Do you need the...
Oh, this is good. This is good. Thank you much. Well, Fred Stager here. I've been a commercial fisherman since 1984. Fished out of here for a little while. Wrote a couple love poems. First one's, I hope, a light-hearted piece, and, well, the second one is a warning. So here we go. We was 5 days out on a long line trip. North wind was beginning to blow. Windy and cold, the sky dark with snow, and the fishing was terrible slow. We trailed the buoy and tossed out the anchor. The reel started to spin when I caught a quick motion, a tiny commotion. And here's how this story begins. In the pensive drab dawn, we was snapping the hooks, and I swear through the sea foam I saw a huge hairy head, atop a furred neck, a prehensile fish tail, and a huge hairy paw. What is that? I yelled between snapping the hooks with the bait flying off of the stern. Then the creature went down with nary a sound, disappearing into the churn. But I knew I'd seen something in the tumult that morn, some hairy and strange aberration, too big for a seal, a mermaid, perhaps, who'd indulged in too much masturbation. Well, it bugged me so much at the end of the day when the anchors were stowed and the gear put away that I told my skipper of the vision I'd seen, and his face turned a somber pale green. Squatch, he said. What? I asked. Squatch, he said very clearly. Then he told me the tale that I'm telling you, at least how I recall it most nearly. You've heard of the Sasquatch, that giant ape man with size 40 feet and a permanent tan. Well, he's a cousin offshore who I met once before with a size and a temper to match. He's the king of the sea, so my skipper told me, and they call him the mighty Sea Squatch. The Sea Squatch, he started, is a huge, fearsome beast. Of the hazards aquatic, he's far from the least. He's the size of 2 men with a strength 2 times 10, and his stern is half primate, half fish. And I'll tell you some more. That great beast comes ashore when the mating season's high upon him, and he'll shed his great tail like the shell of a snail. And then you'd better stay clear when that fella drinks beer and that primate verges upon him. And here's how I know. One long night, long ago, well, I was scanning the bars for a crew when I met up with this fellow with his teeth foul and yellow. And he looked like he'd nothing to do. His size was precocious. His breath was atrocious. His Carhartts were terribly ripe. Well, he'll fit right in, I thought with a grin, as we wandered off through the night. I bought him a burger in the old Solly's bar and told him of my proposition. I needed a crew, and I sure thought he'd do if he'd had him some fishing ambition. Well, his burger was vanished in a blink of an eye, and he ate the fries off both our plates. One more pitcher, then 2. That guy burned through the brew like a crab boat burns through the bait. Man, he didn't say much, this huge strapping hulk. In fact, he said nothing at all. I thought that quite strange, but a damn pleasant change from the usual chatter banal. One more pitcher, a few shots, and we played some pool, and my silent friend could not be beat. He'd run the whole table as quick as you're able to tap out a rhyme with your feet. Yeah, he took on all comers, and he whipped them all, till he scorched the pool table and shattered them balls. And all through this commotion, out the corner of my eye, saw a great strapping lass was admiring my guy. Well, she ambled right over with nary a sound. She deadlifted him and spun him around. He looked quite perplexed, this great giant chap, when she sat back down with him in her lap. Well, maybe it was the booze or the cigarette smoke that clouded my vision that night, but I saw something weird. That big gal had a beard, and I told myself something ain't right. They twirled and whirled across the dance floor, tripping the light quite fantastic. It was something to see, dancing wild and free, though at times they was a bit spastic. They whirled and twirled, busting tables and chairs with their wild gyrating commotion. That old bar sure got trashed and some customers smashed as I watched Newton's third law in motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Then she grabbed both his ears, pulled his lips down to hers. She's a big gal, she didn't pull far. But while lost in their passion, in true Kodiak fashion, the cops appeared at that bar. But when they saw my friend smooch his giant sweetheart, they didn't abrupt about face. I thought they were wise, not disturbing those two who were lost in a furry embrace. Well, my new friend had been bitten. It was clear he was smitten by this tall and quite strong bearded lass. I choked back a tear as I finished my beer. Then I followed them down to the Kodiak pier. They kissed in the water, their beards intertwined. They grew tails and swam out with the tide. And that's when I knew he was no mortal man, nor no mortal girl by his side. See, that old squatch ran aground, and 'gainst great odds he found a she-squatch as his beaming bride. With his tale told and done, the skipper choked up and looked at me wistful and sad and said, "That, young man, is a story of how I lost the best crewman that I never had." "There are strange things done in the midnight sun," said a poet of timeless renown, "but the strangest to me disappeared in the sea on the night that a sea squatch came to our town." Thank you. This one's a little different piece. On the way here on the airplane, I was thinking what this needed to set it off was a big Eskimo steel drum. Didn't have such a thing, but we're all fishermen. We can improvise. So here we go. It's a little different. Since the time before the telling, the waters of the North Pacific are the realm of Sedna. To end famine or ensure a safe sea passage, the Inuit shaman hunkered down in their smoky whale-boned huts, metamorphosed into fish, swimming down to her dark realm on the ocean floor, where they would chant while gently combing the feral tangles out of her hair and plaiting it into braids. For thus she is calmed, and thus she allows the sea creatures to sacrifice themselves for the lives of the people. She was a young woman once, the proud, black-haired beauty of her clan. She was the daughter of a powerful chief, tattooed, fierce. She kept her own counsel. When she became a woman and it was time to wed, she refused all the men from the neighboring clans, and she married an elegant stranger. and he was a horror. He was a bird demon, now a storm petrel, now a crow. Masquerading as human, he won her heart. Then on her wedding night, he carried her cruelly to the high sea cliffs of his rocky nest. And so she was lost to the land and the people that she loved. But her father loved her and came to her rescue. Fearless, he scaled the slippery sea cliffs of her prison. Fearless, he challenged and murdered her monstrous husband. Then swiftly, together, they fled homeward across the still water. But the bird demon's tribe found them, furiously beating their wings in the foggy calm. They created a terrible winter storm. Dark, roiling, green water, roaring with gnashing fangs of ice. Unhinged with fear at the bird demon's fury, her father pitched her out of the kayak, and while Sedna clung desperately to the kayak's side, with the storm raging all around them, her father took out his obsidian axe and he cut off her fingers one at a time. As the waters calmed, she let go, sinking to the ocean floor, until cruel time transmogrified her frozen fingers into the seals and whales and fishes of the icy deep. And time turned a young woman's heart as cold as the North Sea, hard and black as the Arctic night, and the ocean moved to her moods. And so sad, mangled Sedna survived and became the irresistible goddess of storm and sea creatures. She pulls at each life passing over her watery vault, but some slip through her mangled hands, and these are allowed life, but a hard one, full of struggle and the restless pulse of the storm. Because Adlivan, Inuit underworld, is ruled by the sea goddess Sedna, and she is the queen of the waves. Thanks.
Hi, are you here for the Fisher Poet Gathering?
Absolutely.
Okay,
We
could I get your name?
Yeah, sure. I'm Henry Hughes.
Okay.
I'm Chloe Hughes.
Okay, and where are you from?
We're from the Salem area, Monmouth, Oregon. We teach at the university there.
Well, so what brings you to the Fisher Poet Gathering?
Such a great gathering. And so I did work in commercial fishing on the East Coast, and so I come and perform and read some poems. And we've just been talking to people and enjoying the culture of this town. This downtown is fabulous.
Anything you're looking forward to tonight, especially?
You know, I like the authenticity. These are real people who worked in a tough industry, commercial fishing, and so it's not overly literary. It's not overly kind of produced. It's raw and real. And so we've enjoyed every performance. Musicians, poets, just testimonies of that world. So it's all good.
We were talking with some women at breakfast this morning, actually, who had been in the same audience, right?
Yes.
And Loretta, their aunt,
It's 90 years
90
old.
years old, who read poetry last night. Beautiful.
Right.
And then mother and daughter and
Yeah.
yeah, yes, it's so amazing, these sun breaks and showers and the dramatic backdrop of the Columbia and the mountains and the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
thanks
great.
for hosting
Yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're welcome.
Thank
you.
Thank you.